Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Long Game. I'm Brent Schafer. Along with me is Tyler Pearson. We are both certified financial planners at HFG Trust, and we are sharing some conversations that we are having with our clients. Tyler, how you doing today, man?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Ready to, again, be quick with it, get in and get out.
That's right. We usually record
Yeah.
on Thursdays. It's Friday.
I
So
know,
we've got
Friday
a we've
afternoon.
we've got a weekend to get to.
So what do you want to talk about today?
I think we're going to talk about target date funds. Target date
Okay.
funds. You see them all over the place nowadays. You see them in 401ks, pretty much any employer plans. I'm starting to see them pop up for individual investors too a little bit more often. I don't know if you are.
I haven't quite seen that, but as we get into it, I think people might be able to figure out why,
Yeah.
you know. So you're Mr. Retirement Plan here, Mr. 401k guy. So I'm gonna let you kind of share a few graphics that you have and let's get started.
Yeah, we'll jump into it. The graphic I've got for us is just a simple glide path. And so I guess first we should probably cover what a target date fund is. And so a target date retirement fund is based off of typically your age 65. And so if you were 35 years old, the fund is going to be, it's 2025 today, the fund would be the 2055 retirement fund. And, as we've talked about in previous episodes, when you're younger, you're going to have a little bit more of what I'd call an aggressive stock portfolio. It's going to consist of more stocks than bonds. And then as you get closer to retirement, you're going to see that portfolio start to be, closer to maybe a 60-40, 50-50 kind of portfolio. And so the cool thing about target date funds is that they kind of do that gradual portfolio change over the course of your lifetime until that target date. You can kind of see on this chart that, by your target date 65, you're at about, what is that, 55% stocks, and the rest would be, fixed income. Brent, is there anything that jumps out at you here with this target date glide path? This is from Vanguard, for what it's worth. This is their target date series.
Vanguard's target date series. Okay. Immediately jumping out at me, and Tyler, I think we each have an opinion on this, but early career, it looks like they're maybe 90% stocks. And, I think as we get further into it, target dates funds are nice because it's, for the folks at home, it's a single name that you can buy and it has an objective in mind. And the fund managers reconstitute the fund every so often in order to achieve that objective. Again, as Tyler was saying, at age 65, it's pretty much assumed that most people are going to retire at that age. Again, broad strokes, right? Like most people are going to enter retirement at this time. And so we need to have the fund ready to start taking distributions to fund their retirement lifestyle. And that's why they decrease that risk.
Yeah, and I think,
But,
go ahead.
oh no, I was going to say, but it's, again, it's a generic product for generic people and it's not specific to what we all have going on. For most of us, yes, this would be awesome. There's a few nuances and maybe just some artistic, spins that we like to put on things, just as advisors, right? I hate to throw art into it when, there's all of this evidence and academic based things, but, some people do things a little differently than others. It might not be, a huge detriment and it's not like there's a right way or a wrong way to do things, but target date funds are a good place to start.
Yeah, and I think I always, when I meet with 401k participants, my story with target date funds is always, if you're someone who really has no desire to work with a financial advisor, they don't want to manage their investments, they barely want to look at it, they just want to set it and forget it for 30 years. This is probably one of the best tools for doing that. I think we hear through social media and stuff like, oh, you just stick everything in the S&P 500 and you'll be good. There might be a little bit of truth to that. I don't know if it's adequately diversified, but there's some truth to that. Maybe for the first 10 or 15 years of your working career, 25 to say 35. But then as you start getting closer to retirement, like Brent mentioned, and we need to decrease the risk in the portfolio, the S&P 500 doesn't do that for you. So for the set it and forget it people, the target date fund, man, from 25 to 45 or 50, it's really not a bad deal. They're usually really low expense ratios. But to poke a couple holes, as you mentioned, I think the most important thing is that it's broad strokes. It's not specific to any individual. And the reality of investing is you need to have a personalized plan. And on top of that, the thing that always bugs me, and despite the main reason I don't invest in a target date fund myself, is because I'm young, I want to be 100% stocks, and they don't offer me that possibility. They're telling me it's going to be 90 or 95% stocks. It's probably not the end of the world, but for somebody who kind of understands how markets are cyclical, I'd rather just write it out at 100% stocks, and I'm not getting that out of a target date fund. Is there anything else, Brent, that you would maybe poke holes in, or is there anything you really like?
Maybe to keep down the path of poking holes in the strategy. Again, once you buy into this target date fund, it's up to the fund manager to allocation they feel is fair for the United States, what they feel is fair for international, emerging. And then Tyler, we haven't chatted about the Morningstar style box yet, but also those, portfolio tilts. What's the large, medium, small allocation? What about value versus growth? So if someone wants to be a little bit more nuanced with their approach, and we'll talk about it in a follow-up episode, target date funds don't allow them to do that. When I chat with people, generally, they are automatically enrolled in the target date fund. But I also ask for the full investment lineup. What funds do they have available to them in that 401k plan? And from there, then we can go in and we've got a portfolio tool, right? So we can take a look at the funds and make more so a custom allocation for them that will be similar to the HFG strategy and almost put together their retirement portfolio for them. Granted, it's not going to be one name. It's, more like 6, 7, 8 names, because usually what's included in those 401k plans are kind of index funds as well. So,
right. Yeah, I think this is probably a long shot, but if there's any plan sponsors or people that are the administrator for a 401k plan, these are great default investment options, because that way if somebody gets enrolled in a plan, now automatic enrollment is basically mandatory for new plans. If somebody gets enrolled, they forget to choose an investment, at least we know they're going to be in a platform that's mostly adequate for them. And then the thing we always like to point out as well is we talk so much about that target date, the retirement date, say it's 2055, to go back to our earlier example. And I don't want to dive too much into this because this could be a whole episode in itself, but you do continue investing beyond your target date. So you'll notice that the glide path continues to go into the withdrawal phase, the RMD phase, and it kind of reduces risk maybe a little bit more in those later years. And I think that's where it's actually very important to work with someone to get a more specialized portfolio, because the reality is I don't think the majority of people we work with that are in their 70s and 80s need to be at 30% stocks. I would say it's actually somewhat unusual. Not totally unusual, but it's certainly not the majority of people that we run into.
Yeah, that allocation would be generally regarded as a capital protection strategy.
Yeah.
That's somebody who's taking distributions and they're really eating into the principle of their retirement accounts. And so,
not somebody trying to leave a whole bunch of money to their kids.
Yeah, you can't afford to take on that risk. But again, Tyler, I think as we approach retirement, you really do need to sit down and talk with somebody who's going to make more of a customized investment solution for you, and that is ultimately going to help either enhance this wealth and grow it or protect it so that it can last as long as it physically can. And, within good reason, just playing with historically how markets have performed. There's really a multitude of factors that you have to take into account. And that's where advisors really do, spend a bulk of their time. And I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's our job day in, day out to learn about these, figure out, even for our clients on just where retirement income is going to come from. Social Security, portfolio, pension, triangulate kind of all of these things. I've spent the last few years learning about taxes, tax planning. Like, there is so much information out there, so much important information that people should know, but no one person can get to all of that. So anyway, tying it back to target date funds, to just put a bow on it, sum it up real quick for us.
They're definitely not the worst investment. If I had to say it in one sentence, no. To really tie it up, I think in summary, these are great for people that just want to set it and forget it. the reality of investing for retirement is the closer you get to retirement, the more customized that the solution needs to be. And I think that's where a more custom strategy comes in. But hey, if you're 25, you enroll in a 401k for the first time, this is what they put you in, and you don't touch it for 10 years, I think you're going to be pretty happy with the results.
Perfect. Well said. All right, man. I think we should let's call it there. Thank you, Tyler, for sharing a peek into the 401k world and some of the conversations that you have with plan participants.
So before we head out, I've got to drop one golf story, because not that our last episode's out yet, but we said that it was wrapping up in terms of the season. And I went out last weekend, played with some buddies, and I was losing our game going on to the 18th hole by one stroke, and I went out of bounds off the tee, hit my next drive right down the middle, about 30 yards, have to make it to chip in from 30 yards to make par. So it was an eagle par because I was OB on the drive. And buddy Ethan, that he is on the fringe, 2 putts for par, 3 putts for bogey. So I hole out from 30 yards, he 3 putts, bogey par, push the 18th hole, win the 18th hole, push that set. So I'm pretty stoked. I think I'm going to have to try to get into Q school next year.
Wild.
So do keep a lookout for my name. Plus, I just get under the bus on live television or live podcasting.
If you need a caddy, I keep telling Jocelyn I'm going to go loop on tour next year. So
there you go. They'd be my caddy. Hey, like we talked about in episode 3, we're the caddies of your financial life. Why can't you just be the caddy of my golf life?
It's a really good crossover, but I don't think we're going to quit our day jobs anytime soon. So Tyler, thank you for the fun story. I can only imagine what that the elation of a chip in and to beat your buddy, and you shouldn't have gone out of bounds off the tee. So we can talk about that at a later time. But
should have been an eagle.
As always, thank you for watching. If you've got any questions about your portfolio, the allocation, or even if you're getting those statements and just curious about what's this name? Who is invested? What's behind that name? We're happy to chat with you. Thank you for watching The Long Game, and we'll see you next time.